You think you know someone until one recording flips everything on its head. That's what happened with Robyn Brown. The woman many fans once defended as sweet, misunderstood, and devoted suddenly became the center of the biggest scandal in Sister Wives history, and in many twisted differentiating the Sister Wives history. And it didn't start with a blowout or a big confrontation. It started with something small, just a whisper, a faint sentence buried in background noise, until it wasn't. Hey friends, welcome back to TLC's Sister Wives Secret. I'm Oliva, and this story is one of the most jaw-dropping turns we've ever seen on the show. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and tell me in the comments, did you see this coming? Because I didn't. I get chills even thinking about it. Now for over a decade, viewers watched the Brown family present themselves as united, even when things behind the scenes were clearly falling apart. Cody was always the loudest voice in the room, sure, but it was Robyn who slowly, quietly gained more influence. Some fans noticed it early on, how she lived in a bigger house, how her kids got more attention, how finances seemed to tilt in her direction, but nothing was ever confirmed. It was all speculation. Until that recording, the leak didn't come from a tabloid. It didn't even come from another wife. It came from someone within the TLC production, someone who had seen enough. This insider described feeling uncomfortable with what they called manipulation happening behind the cameras. They made a choice. They released the audio. In the clip, you hear Robyn speaking quickly, almost like she's trying not to panic. She says, "It's just $820K. Cody doesn't need to know the exact amount. If it's filed under family expenses, nobody will question it." Her tone is calm but forced, like someone keeping it together just enough to get away with something. That's when the whisper turned into a wildfire. And from that moment on, nothing in the Brown family would ever be the same again. The tape was short, but it didn't need to be long to destroy everything. Robyn's voice came through the speakers, low and tight. She sounded out of breath, like she was trying to control her nerves but couldn't keep the urgency out of her tone. You could hear the room she was in, quiet, maybe even a closet or a back bedroom. She wasn't being casual, she was hiding. "It's just $820K, she said. Cody doesn't need to know the exact amount. If it's filed under family expenses, nobody will question it." And in that moment, what had always been rumors became undeniable. This wasn't opinion. This was Robyn, in her own words, moving massive amounts of family money without telling anyone. The clip made its way to Janelle first. She was in her Arizona rental, the modest one, sitting beside her son Gabe. He clicked play, and they listened once. Then again, the second time, Janelle didn't even blink. Her hands just gripped the edge of her laptop. You could see it in her face. Years of confusion, frustration, financial stress. It all suddenly made sense. "She did it," Janelle said quietly. Gabe leaned in, scrolling through the digital bank records he still had access to from his time helping manage family files. And that's when he saw it. Large transfers, renamed folders, missing entries. "Mom, this is stealing. This is straight up lying." And that was the crack that started the collapse. That night, Janelle picked up the phone. Her hand was shaking not with fear, but with clarity. She called Meri, and Meri, sitting in her bed in breakfast up in Utah, froze as the words came through the receiver. "She stole the CP money, Meri. Over 800,000. She used Cody's electronic signature. Twice." Meri didn't speak for a second. Then she whispered, "Wait, are you saying she forged him?" "Yes," Janelle answered. "She told him it was for budgeting, but she used our name, and she hid it." Meri's silence turned into something hard, focused. She didn't cry, she didn't beg, she just sat up straighter. Then Christine joined the call. When she heard the news, she didn't even blink. "I always said she had a plan," she replied. "But this isn't a plan, this is theft." And that night, for the first time in years, Meri, Janelle, and Christine stood together, not in tears, not in denial, but in purpose. They weren't going to stay quiet anymore. It was supposed to be just another filming day. Cameras were rolling, Lights adjusted. Robyn walked onto the Flagstaff set like she always did, with that carefully curated smile, that soft-spoken presence she'd perfected for years. Cody trailed behind, already grumbling about the lighting setup, clueless to what was coming. But this time, the producers had something planned. One of them walked over, tablet in hand, and calmly said, "We just need your response to this clip." Robyn blinked. What clip? He hit play, and the room went silent. Robyn's voice filled the space, but it wasn't her confessional tone. It wasn't the poised, polished version viewers knew. It was raw, real, and chilling. "It's just $820K. Cody doesn't need to know. File it under family expenses." Robyn's face drained of color. You could actually see the moment she realized what was playing. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Her eyes darted toward Cody, who stood still, arms folded, face unreadable. He didn't interrupt. He listened to the whole thing. When it ended, the air in the room felt like glass, sharp, breakable. Cody finally spoke. "You said you were just handling the finances." Robyn tried to answer. I am. I had to make sure we were fine." Cody cut her off. "But my name was on those documents." He didn't yell. That was the worst part. His voice was quiet and cold. The kind of tone that comes when someone's trust has been shattered, and they don't even have the energy to be angry anymore. Robyn reached for excuses, but Cody had already backed away, and within hours, everything exploded. Headlines erupted across entertainment news and social media. Robyn Brown, accused of stealing over $800K in family funds. Hidden audio exposes financial fraud inside sister wives' household. TLC in crisis. Every major tabloid had it. Every fan forum lit up. And suddenly, the woman who once cried through every interview was now being called a manipulator, a thief. The mastermind behind the family's breakdown. TLC halted filming. Production froze. Calls went unanswered. And behind the scenes, Robyn's once protected position crumbled. The family wasn't circling around her anymore. They were circling the truth. The legal storm began almost immediately. As soon as the shockwaves of Robyn's betrayal hit the press, Janelle and Meri wasted no time. They filed civil lawsuits, pushing for a full forensic audit of the family's finances. The courtrooms quickly filled with tense energy. The public knew that the Brown family's dirty laundry was about to be aired out in front of a judge. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about justice. A professional audit team was brought in, and what they uncovered was far worse than anyone expected. There were records of unauthorized transfers, large sums of money, more than $820,000, moved into private accounts under Robyn's name. Even worse, some of the signatures on the documents were flagged as forgeries, forged signatures. The depths of Robyn's manipulation became clear with every turn of the page. But what really rocked the case, and turned the family's world upside down, was Cody's silence. He stayed quiet. The press had expected him to stand by Robyn, to defend her, to shoot down the accusations. But in the days following the leak, Cody was eerily absent from the spotlight. As the investigation snowballed, reporters swarmed, desperate to get an answer. Was he part of this scheme? Was he a victim of manipulation? Or was he an accomplice too? When the court trial finally began, the atmosphere inside the courtroom was electric. Bloggers, former activists, and ex-Mormon members packed the gallery, phones in hand, ready to capture every second. The judge kept a firm hand on the proceedings, as reporters jotted down every word. The world had become a courtroom, and the Brown family was on trial. It was Janelle and Meri who stood strong, both unwavering in their pursuit of truth. When they took the stand, their testimony was clear. Robyn had betrayed them, and they would no longer be silent. Janelle's voice was firm and steady, while Meri's quiet fury was palpable. Neither of them hesitated when it came time to speak the truth. They had watched Robyn manipulate the family finances for years, all while hiding behind the facade of unity. Then Cody was called to the stand. The room went still. Cody's body language was stiff as he sat down, his face devoid of emotion. But when asked about his involvement, he couldn't hide the truth any longer. His answers were blunt. He admitted, in no uncertain terms, that he had trusted Robyn with the finances. He admitted that he had blindly relied on her, never once questioning where the money was going. His confession sent ripples through the courtroom. "I trusted her," Cody said quietly, looking down at the table in front of him. I didn't know any of this was happening." It was the first real crack in his public image. His blind trust was now his undoing. Meanwhile, Meri and Janelle stood unwavering, their eyes locked with Cody's in the courtroom, but there was no pity in their gaze. They had seen the truth, and now, they were standing for it. And the press, they had a field day. The fallout was just beginning. But the message was clear. Robyn's empire was crumbling. When the final audit report was released, it hit like a wrecking ball. It wasn't just a couple of shady transfers or sloppy bookkeeping. This was a full-scale, long-running financial funnel system. The report showed that Robyn hadn't just redirected family funds, she had created multiple private trusts, shell companies, most of them registered in states far from Arizona, some under her name, some under aliases, and others traced directly back to accounts linked to her older children. Then came the most gut-wrenching part: college funds. It turns out, several of the family's shared education accounts had been quietly drained. Accounts meant for Savannah, for Gabe, for the other kids who had dreams outside the chaos. Tens of thousands of dollars, gone, moved under educational expenses that the audit proved were never actually spent on school. The forensic team listed properties too: a small house in southern Utah, a cabin-style retreat outside Sedona, none of which had ever been mentioned on the show. These weren't homes for the family, they were investments Robyn had kept hidden. That's when the public really turned on her. Up until that point, some fans still wanted to believe Robyn was innocent, or at least manipulated. But after the audit, even her longtime defenders went quiet. Social media exploded with screenshots, documents, old clips of Robyn crying on the couch, promising she wanted nothing more than peace and family. Now those same clips played side by side with spreadsheets showing the stolen money. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was emotional. Savannah found out from a cousin. Gabe heard about it from a blog post before his mother could even sit him down. They were devastated. The trust they had left in the family structure, already so fractured, just shattered. And it wasn't just anger, it was grief, hurt, loss. These were their futures, their hopes, and someone they had once called mom had wiped it all away without ever looking back. And then came the collapse. Court orders froze Robyn's bank accounts. Credit cards were canceled. Access to the family's former joint assets, locked. TLC announced a formal separation from Robyn's personal financial business. Sponsors pulled out. Her name was trending for all the wrong reasons. Robyn had always been seen as Cody's favorite, but now, she stood completely alone. No more cozy Flagstaff home. No more silent control from behind the scenes. Everything she built on the backs of other people's trust came crashing down. And the fallout, it wasn't finished yet. In the quiet after the storm, something remarkable happened. Meri and Janelle, two women who had been cast aside, minimized, gaslit for years, stepped into roles no one ever let them fully claim leadership. With the courts on their side, and the audit exposing the full depth of the betrayal, they began the hard work of rebuilding. Not just bank accounts, not just paperwork, but dignity. The old family trust that had once bound all the Brown adults together, it was dissolved. Every joint account closed. New legal protections were put in place for the children's financial futures. What once was Cody and Robyn's domain was now finally in safe hands. One of the most symbolic moments came when Janelle and Meri reclaimed the family house in Flagstaff. Not because they needed it, but because they had earned it. That home, once filled with secrets and silent power plays, now belonged to the women who had been shut out of every decision. TLC cameras captured the moment they walked through the doors, not as guests, but as owners. Robyn, meanwhile, had gone quiet. So quiet, it was deafening. No statements, no apologies, no attempts to defend herself. TLC slowly stopped mentioning her altogether. Instagram pages that once supported her turned to dust. Sponsors cut ties. And what used to be her fortress, her tight control over Cody, over the narrative, over the fan base, crumbled without a sound. Even Cody changed. For the first time in over a decade, Cody was seen not posturing, not lecturing, not defending Robyn, but sitting alone. A TLC crew member described it in a blog post. He just stared at the floor. He didn't ask us to stop rolling. He didn't say anything. He just looked. Done. He wasn't the man he once was. And maybe for the first time he saw the truth, not just about Robyn, but about himself. Christine, now remarried and thriving, made a bold public statement. In an interview promoting her new docuseries, she said, "This isn't revenge, this is recovery. We've all paid for silence long enough." And that silence, that became Robyn's final act. No confession, no reckoning, just absence. But sometimes silence speaks louder than words, and in that silence, the message was clear. Her power was gone. For the women who had been silenced for so long, this wasn't just justice, it was freedom. Meri, Janelle, Christine, they didn't win with vengeance, they won with truth. And for the children, a new foundation, one built not on manipulation or secrecy, but on honesty and strength. The Brown family name may never mean what it once did, but for the women who carried its burden for so long, their legacy has finally been reclaimed.